Hello everyone, welcome back to Trek A Day, catching up on the last two episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks. In episode 7, Fully Dilated, the Cerritos is yet again helping to close another fissure after a purple Enterprise D was discovered in the region and disappeared back into the fissure. After closing this interdimensional rift, they discover that the purple Enterprise D left something behind on a planet that has a pre-warp civilization and is experiencing a time dilation, so that our away mission team will experience a week on the planet while only a second passes on the Cerritos. And so that is the crux of the main goal of the episode, while some internal conflict, while our lower decks crew, which are no longer truly lower deckers, are moving on up, and Tendi and T'Lyn are competing for the position of science officer on the bridge, while Mariner leads them on their away mission to find whatever this purple Enterprise D left behind before it interferes with the culture of the planet. The artifact turns out to be a surprise Next Generation character cameo, which I enjoyed, and especially how it tied in to Tendi driving herself crazy trying to, in her mind, beat T'Lyn for the position that she has dreamed for, while T'Lyn is just kind of going about her business and is unworried about the perceived competition, and ends up, during the course of the events on the planet, being the better science officer, making better use of her time while they are stuck there, thanks to Boimler's clumsiness, adding that Lower Decks kind of goofy, cartoony twist to create the good Star Trek story beneath. Overall, without spoiling how the episode wraps up, another pretty good outing that ties into the overarching larger plot that we're going to see wrapping up not only the season but the series, and then moves us into the next episode. In the episode Upper Decks, I really get for the first time this season the feeling of wrapping things up. The season's been very good so far. In comparison to previous seasons, it's kind of right on par at being what Lower Decks is, but while it progressed the story in some interesting ways, great little episodic, comedic, animated weekly episodes, there was nothing quite yet that brought about that feeling that we're coming to the end. And here in Upper Decks is where I first kind of get that vibe as the entire series is wrapping up. We get an episode that flips the script. It has a premise the opposite of what we are used to seeing, to where it's called Upper Decks because it focuses on the quote-unquote Upper Decks, on the characters that we always saw as the commanders, as the heads of departments, as the people to look up to from the perspective of our Lower Decks characters as they're rising through the ranks. We get to see adventures from their perspectives. And it also is a way of highlighting a lot of more minor characters, giving them what it feels like, before these last two episodes come out, a real spotlight, and kind of wrapping up some background characters to bring a bit of focus and conclusion to characters outside of our main Lower Decks cast, as we dive into the final adventures of the Cerritos and the series. And in that vein, I thought it was very good, and it was an interesting comparison. I think you can look at Lower Decks, the Season 7 episode of TNG, for which this series is named after, and see that as a parallel to this, just with the completely opposite, the flipped perspective. On TNG, the perspective would be on the so-called Upper Decks characters, and then you get that Lower Decks moment, and then in the Lower Decks show, you get this flip to seeing the perspective of those higher ranking officers. And overall, I thought it was an episode that very humorously and smartly took that premise and kind of wrapped up some stuff for the series as a whole rather than just the season to prepare the audience for the upcoming rush to the finale, as we only have 2 episodes remaining.